China's building an army specifically dedicated to defeating the United States of America. And if, 15 hypersonic missiles can take out our 10 aircraft carriers in the first 20 minutes of a conflict, what does that look like? The Pentagon has a perfect record in all of its war games against China. We lose every time.
20 minutes. That's how long China needs to destroy the entire US Navy. On September 3rd, 2025, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth watched China's military parade and realized America had lost the arms race. The weapons Beijing revealed that day made every Pentagon wargame end the same way: total American defeat. What China tested in front of the world just ended 80 years of US military dominance. The parade lasted 70 minutes and displayed 45 formations, but 3 specific weapons systems created the crisis that keeps Pentagon officials awake at night. The DF-61 intercontinental ballistic missile appeared for the first time. 4 launchers rolled through Tiananmen Square on 16-wheel mobile platforms. The missile's estimated range of 7,500 miles meant it could strike Washington, D.C. from Beijing in under 30 minutes. Western analysts called it the main surprise because it represented a completely new nuclear delivery system. The YJ-21 hypersonic anti-ship missile made its public debut mounted on H-6K bombers. This weapon travels at Mach 6 and carries an 800-mile range. Defense experts immediately understood its purpose: to destroy American aircraft carriers before they could get within striking distance of China. The missile's hypersonic speed makes it impossible to intercept with current US Navy defenses. China also revealed the AJX-002 unmanned underwater vehicle, a submarine drone larger than any previous model. Chinese media called it a cutting-edge surprise weapon designed for covert deployment and swarm attacks. The drone can operate autonomously for extended periods, making it perfect for blockading enemy ports without risking human crews. Xi Jinping stood alongside Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un during the demonstration. The timing was deliberate. Trump had been in office for less than 8 months. The message was clear: China possessed weapons that could challenge American military dominance directly. These weren't incremental improvements to existing weapons. China had developed entirely new categories of military technology that rendered many US defense systems obsolete overnight. Beyond the missiles and drones, China demonstrated technology that military experts thought impossible: operational invisibility systems that made equipment completely undetectable across multiple spectrums simultaneously: visual, thermal, and radar. Chinese special forces wore suits that rendered them invisible to human observation. The technology used engineered metamaterials that bent light waves around the wearer's body. Unlike camouflage that blends with surroundings, these suits made soldiers disappear entirely from view. The thermal concealment proved equally revolutionary. Traditional invisibility attempts failed against infrared detection because human body heat remained visible. China's system regulated external temperatures to match the immediate environment, defeating thermal imaging completely. Radar invisibility represented the third breakthrough. The metamaterials absorbed electromagnetic waves across frequencies from 0.6 to 2.3 feet, covering the bands used by most military radar systems. Laboratory tests showed the materials absorbed low-frequency waves from multiple angles while remaining thinner than paper. China scaled the technology beyond individual soldiers. Vehicles demonstrated the ability to become invisible during the parade. Tanks, trucks, and even aircraft flickered in and out of visibility, proving the system worked on large platforms. The Guangqi Advanced Institute of Technology had been manufacturing over 100,000 square feet of electromagnetic materials annually since 2018. This production capacity indicated China could equip substantial military units with invisibility technology immediately. The demonstration solved mobility problems that plagued previous invisibility research. Earlier experiments worked only with stationary objects in controlled laboratory conditions. China's operational system functioned across terrain types and weather conditions while maintaining 90% effectiveness. Zhejiang University researchers had developed the core technology over a decade of secret research. The breakthrough combined 3 separate scientific advances into one integrated system. The result was battlefield-ready invisibility that worked in real combat conditions. Hegseth received the first briefing at 6 a.m. Eastern Time the following morning. Intelligence analysts had worked through the night analyzing footage from the Chinese parade. Their assessment was unambiguous. China had achieved technological breakthroughs that fundamentally altered global military balance. Emergency sessions convened with all service chiefs within hours. The implications were staggering. If Chinese forces could operate invisibly, every US military doctrine became questionable. Traditional concepts of battlefield awareness, target identification, and force protection required complete revision. Hegseth initiated crisis funding protocols within 48 hours. Congress received requests for billions in emergency appropriations for counter-invisibility research. The Department of Defense launched classified programs to understand Chinese capabilities and develop countermeasures. Military simulation computers ran hundreds of scenarios involving invisible Chinese forces. Every wargame produced the same result: significant American losses. Traditional US advantages in surveillance, targeting, and precision strikes became irrelevant against enemies that couldn't be detected. The Navy faced the most immediate threats. Aircraft carrier groups depend entirely on early warning systems to detect incoming threats. Invisible Chinese missiles could penetrate carrier defenses without triggering any alarms. The $13 billion USS Gerald Ford became a floating target against weapons it couldn't see coming. Intelligence agencies launched crash assessment programs. The CIA, NSA, and Defense Intelligence Agency combined resources to understand Chinese invisibility capabilities. Initial estimates suggested American counter-technology remained at least 5 years from deployment. Allied defense ministers received emergency briefings within a week. NATO representatives expressed alarm about technological gaps between Chinese and Western capabilities. Several allied nations immediately launched domestic research programs despite lacking Chinese manufacturing infrastructure. Congressional defense committees held classified hearings on Chinese invisibility technology. Lawmakers learned that America's technological superiority had vanished overnight. The hearing transcripts remain classified, but sources described genuine panic among committee members. Hegseth made his stunning admission during a November podcast interview. China's hypersonic missiles could destroy all US aircraft carriers within 20 minutes of conflict beginning. This wasn't hyperbole. It was based on classified assessments of Chinese capabilities. The DF-17 medium-range hypersonic missile became operational in 2020. The weapon travels at Mach 10 and carries a range of 1,500 miles. Its hypersonic glide vehicle follows unpredictable flight paths that render traditional missile defenses useless. China had deployed dozens of these systems. China's DF-27 intercontinental hypersonic missile posed even greater threats. With an estimated range of 5,000 to 8,000 miles, it could strike targets anywhere in the Pacific from mainland China. The missile could carry conventional, nuclear, or anti-ship warheads depending on mission requirements. The YJ-21 air-launched hypersonic missile-armed Chinese H-6K bombers starting in 2023. Global Times newspaper buried this information in an article about Taiwan operations, but Pentagon analysts caught the reference. Air-launched hypersonics are among the most difficult weapons to detect and intercept. Chinese naval forces began deploying ship-launched hypersonic missiles in 2022. The Type 055 destroyers carry these weapons as standard armament. A single Chinese destroyer could theoretically engage an entire American carrier strike group with hypersonic missiles. Reports confirmed China possessed the world's leading hypersonic arsenal. While America struggled with test failures and program delays, China achieved mass production of multiple hypersonic weapon types. The technological gap widened every month. American carrier groups faced unprecedented vulnerability. The Navy's Aegis defense system was designed to intercept ballistic missiles following predictable parabolic trajectories. Hypersonic weapons glide through the atmosphere on variable paths that existing radars cannot track effectively. The strategic implications became obvious to Pentagon planners. American power projection depended on naval supremacy, particularly aircraft carriers. If carriers became indefensible against Chinese hypersonics, America's global military presence was threatened. China's military parade revealed the results of massive investment in advanced weapons research. While America spent trillions fighting counterinsurgency wars, China focused on developing technologies specifically designed to defeat US forces. The Chinese defense budget reached an estimated $450 billion annually, according to Pentagon assessments. This represented nearly double the official Chinese military spending figures. Much of this funding supported advanced research programs that remained hidden from public view. Chinese shipbuilding capacity dwarfed American capabilities. China's Navy already operated more ships than the US Navy, over 370 vessels compared to America's 290. Pentagon projections showed Chinese naval forces would reach 435 ships by 2030, while American fleet size stagnated. Rare earth materials gave China decisive advantages in advanced weapons production. These elements were essential for manufacturing metamaterials, hypersonic guidance systems, and stealth coatings. China controlled 80% of global rare earth production and processing. American defense contractors scrambled to respond to Chinese advances. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Northrop Grumman received emergency contracts worth billions. However, these programs faced fundamental obstacles. Creating competing technologies required years of research and development. Supply chain vulnerabilities complicated American responses. Advanced weapons manufacturing depended on components and materials sourced globally. China's control over critical supply chains gave them leverage over American defense production. Technology transfer restrictions imposed on China had backfired. Instead of slowing Chinese advancement, export controls forced China to develop domestic alternatives. These indigenous systems often surpassed the foreign technologies they replaced. Regional allies recognized the shifting balance. Australia increased defense spending by 40% specifically to counter Chinese advances. Japan announced plans to develop hypersonic weapons domestically. South Korea began secret negotiations with American contractors for advanced missile defense systems. The demonstration accomplished China's strategic objectives without firing a shot. By revealing superior military technologies publicly, China shifted global perceptions of military balance. Allied nations began reconsidering their relationships with both superpowers. Taiwan's defense planning became exponentially more complex. The island's military forces were designed to resist conventional invasion, not invisible infiltrators or hypersonic missile barrages. Taiwanese officials privately acknowledged their defense strategies were obsolete. Japan faced immediate threats from Chinese capabilities. The proximity to Chinese territory meant hypersonic missiles could reach Japanese targets in minutes. Japan's self-defense forces lacked any effective countermeasures against invisible or hypersonic attacks. South Korea found itself caught between competing pressures. American alliance commitments conflicted with the reality of Chinese military superiority in Northeast Asia. Seoul began hedging strategies that maintained relationships with both powers. Australia's Defence White Paper underwent emergency revision after the Chinese demonstration. The previous strategy assumed American technological superiority would continue indefinitely. Chinese advances forced complete strategic reassessment. European NATO allies recognized their vulnerability to Chinese technologies. While geographically distant from China, European forces operating in the Pacific would face the same threats as American units. Several nations began independent research programs for defensive technologies. The psychological impact extended beyond military planning. Intelligence agencies acknowledged they could no longer confirm the absence of Chinese invisible forces. Every unexplained incident could potentially involve undetected Chinese operations. Arms control agreements required fundamental revision. Traditional verification methods assumed the ability to observe and count weapons systems. Invisible technologies made verification impossible using existing protocols. Economic warfare intensified as nations competed for advanced technology resources. Control over rare earth materials, semiconductor manufacturing, and advanced research facilities became national security priorities. China achieved strategic objectives through technological demonstration rather than military action. The parade proved that technological superiority could shift global power balance more effectively than conventional force. America's century of military dominance faced its first serious challenge since World War II.